Hey guys, welcome to Bada Boom. I'm Chris. Yesterday we had a salacious article about the world of DC, so now it's Marvel's turn, as Daredevil has gotten a complete reboot. Now, I'm not talking about the reboot that they've already announced. It's a reboot creatively, as Marvel has let go of the writers and the directors of the upcoming Disney Plus reboot. This is insane considering the investment in these series. Um, a lot of these shows are $150 million plus, but creatively they've flopped and hurt the Marvel brand. We're going to go through this article, talk about some of the interesting nuggets when it comes to what this means for the future of Disney, Marvel, and how it affects the MCU at large. We'll talk about it. It's written by Boris Kitt, who is on the money, runs the Heat Vision blog at The Hollywood Reporter, one of the trades. So this article is well sourced, and it's pretty crazy considering they're able to get some people on the record in terms of where these series have gone. Marvel has acknowledged that they haven't worked, so there's going to be a huge shift creatively. Whereas these shows have been looked at as 6-hour movies, now it's going to more of a traditional TV model where you will have showrunners and actual pilot episodes. What spurned this is the fact that before the writer's strike, they had filmed a couple episodes of the series, and with the writer's strike going on, they were able to pause and look over the episodes and find that it wasn't working. It was not like the Netflix series at all, which had a lot of action and violence. It was more of a legal procedural, which is fine, but I don't think that's what people were looking for. You got a little bit of that with She-Hulk, which was a legal procedural but had comedy, whereas Daredevil is a street level hero, and people wanted to see more of that like hallway fight. That's why people were excited to hear John Bernthal was back as the Punisher, because that meant, hey, the action and violence will be back. But reading this article, you can tell that it was not back. In fact, it has been said that Daredevil did not appear in costume up until episode 4. Yes, episode 4. All right. So let's get into it. It opens with, it didn't take long to see the problem after Marvel Studios' Daredevil Born Again paused production mid-June during the writer's strike. Fewer than half of the series' 18 episodes had been shot, but it was enough for Marvel executives, including Chief Kevin Feige, to review the footage and come away with a clear-eyed assessment. The show wasn't working. So in late September, Marvel quietly let go head writers Chris Ord and Matt Corman, and also released the directors for the remainder of the season as a part of a significant creative reboot of the series, The Hollywood Reporter has learned. The studio is now on the hunt for new writers and directors for the project, which stars Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer turned superhero. So there you have it. They were able to quietly let go of the writers. Considering the writer's strike was going on, most people probably didn't think twice about a writer's deal being put on hold or directors being let go of their assignments. They probably just assumed, hey, when things get back going, they'll get them back. Uh, but that is not the case. And I think a lot of that has to do with the reaction to Secret Invasion, which is Marvel's worst reviewed project. And I can tell you it earned that. It did not work in a lot of ways. And if you read this article, you'll understand why some of these series haven't worked. A lot of them have been disjointed. They don't have a pacing of a series. It feels like, hey, they've taken that 6-hour movie model in the worst way. Like it feels like, hey, we're putting a lot of filler to kind of fill in this runtime. And this is a script for a film that we feel that doesn't justify a film, so we're going to stretch it out, make it a Disney Plus series, and make some money, which was fine at the boom of streaming. But now, with people back to work, with not as much time to watch things, they're probably more selective. And when you spend $220 million on one of your biggest flops ever as a series, it makes you reassess things. So this is good. I know people are going to say, like, hey, Marvel's cooked, it's over. But I do think it is healthy to kind of look at things and reflect and be like, hey, we're going down the wrong path. We need to adjust. And I'm going to highlight this piece of the article because, again, it talks about why Marvel has had such a hard time on Disney Plus in terms of how their approach to film has not really translated to TV. Through it all, the company eschewed the traditional TV making model. It didn't commission pilots, but instead shot entire 150 million plus seasons of TV on the fly. It didn't hire showrunners, but instead depended on film executives to run its series. And as Marvel does for its movies, it relied on post production and reshoots to fix what wasn't working. This is what the writer strike really was about. You have these executives making decisions and feeling like, hey, if we could fix it in post, don't worry, we're machines. We don't need that human element to guide these stories and make sure that they stay on track. But as Marvel has learned, when you're dealing with something that is much bigger than a 90-minute movie, you need someone to drive that series creatively and make sure that it's on track to be able to be coherent, which a lot of these series haven't been. There's some episodes that are really strong, and then the next episode will completely erase that. So I think this is a good approach in terms of them assessing that and kind of being like, okay, like this has worked. We've had a lot of success, but it's not working in this new field of streaming and TV. And it's also hurting the brand. How people don't want to buy into this new multiverse saga because more than 50 hours of TV that they've made have not worked for the most part, outside of maybe 6 hours of Loki, which has come back and still works. Which is also highlighted in this article that they'll probably be shifting to more of the Loki side of things, where they'll be doing more traditional 1 season, 2 seasons versus the miniseries model. And again, they were able to get people on the record, which is this right here. We're trying to marry the Marvel culture with the traditional television culture, says Brad Winderbaum, Marvel's head of streaming, television, and animation. It comes down to how can we tell stories in television that honor what's so great about the source material? Very few moments in these series have actually honored what is great about the source material. Falcon and the Winter Soldier fell flat. WandaVision had its highs, but eventually just became bad towards the end. Obviously, we talked about Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion is bad in a lot of ways, but one of its biggest crimes is the fact that it doesn't take the concept of the comic book it's based on, which is, hey, what if superheroes were invaded by Skrulls? Yes, you have Rhodey, War Machine, who is a Skrull in that, but that's the one superhero. In the book, you had people like Iron Man. You had so many Avengers that were Skrulls. It made you question things. It felt very much like the Thing, whereas Secret Invasion was a spy thriller that had no thrills. So hopefully now with this new approach, they're able to make things that are more in line with the comic books they're adapting. So you have something like Daredevil, which is based on Born Again, but you don't have Foggy Nelson and Karen Page in it. That makes no sense. So with this reboot, hopefully we bring those actors back because I think they're a really good part of what made the Netflix series work. And they need it. So kudos to Marvel for admitting, hey, this is not working. But we're going to talk about this, which is kind of the thing I was mentioning earlier about Daredevil not actually appearing in costume up until episode 4. With Daredevil's new direction, Marvel hopes to right the ship on a project with sky-high expectations. The show is Marvel's first to feature a hero who already had a successful series on Netflix, running 3 seasons, but sources say that Corman and Ord crafted a legal procedural that did not resemble the Netflix version, known for its action and violence. Cox didn't even show up in costume until the 4th episode. Marvel, after greenlighting the concept, found itself needing to rethink the original intention of the show. Marvel plans to keep some scenes and episodes, though other serialized elements will be injected, with Corman and Ord becoming executive producers on the 2-season series. yeah, so I think there will be some things. Obviously, you have Kingpin coming back. I think they're going to keep Punisher. Um, and it would be financially irresponsible to completely scrap it and not use a lot of the footage that was shot, because they were in production. They were shooting the series. A lot of scripts have been written. But I think they're just going to tone down that legal procedural side and hopefully bring in some characters that were in the Netflix series, like Karen Page and Foggy Nelson. Oh, and they do bring up, another series that had a lot of issues, Moon Knight, and this kind of makes sense of why some things were mismatched. So here it says, on the Oscar Isaac star of Moon Knight, show creator and writer Jeremy Slater quit and director Mohamed Diab took the reins. Jessica Gao developed and wrote She-Hulk Attorney at Law, but was sidelined once director Kate Cairo came on board. Production was challenging with COVID hitting cast and crew, and Gao was brought back to oversee post production, a typical showrunner duty, but it's the rare Marvel head writer who has such oversight. And that makes sense because I think She Hulk did work. I know a lot of people were sort of angry at the show for nonsensical reason, but I actually liked it. It had the same through line, say what you will, but it was consistent. And a lot of the other shows like Moon Knight were inconsistent. At times it was good, at times it was really bad. Um, Secret Invasion was really consistent in how bad it was. Um, but these shows lack consistency, and that's where the showrunner comes in. They are the director of these television series. Yes, you have directors that shoot the episodes, but it's the showrunner's job to guide them and make sure that what they're doing makes sense in the larger context of the story. And to cap it off, as it moves forward, Marvel is making concrete changes in how it makes TV and now plans to hire showrunners. Gao's post production work on She Hulk helped Marvel see that it will be helpful for its shows to have a creative through line from start to finish. Oh, you think? Um, it's a term we've not only grown comfortable with, but also learned to embrace, says Winterbaum of showrunners and Marvel's TV's intentions to hire them. The studio also plans on having full time TV execs rather than having executives straddle both television and film. Feige's stretched thin. He's only one man, and I think a lot of this has derailed what should have been a really solid follow up to the Infinity Saga. Now you're sort of trying to adjust on the fly, something Marvel is not used to with the success it's had. That is something more of a DC thing. Um, so, what do you guys think? This is interesting. It is always good when people acknowledge they've made mistakes. I know people, again, are going to say, hey, they're cooked. This is over. MCU dead. And it has been the case with the series that they've made. But I do think when someone says, hey, we're going to course correct, we acknowledge the mistakes we've made. I do think it's going to reflect. It's not going to reflect immediately. Some of the shows and movies have been already made. We're still getting the Marvels, and we're getting a lot more projects that were made under this process, which is not really conducive to creatives and making really compelling stories. So hopefully this change is able to be felt through the series, the films, the animation, and maybe one day the games. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. With that, bada boom.